button. Can you believe that? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. We've been sitting here talking and I forgot to push the go live button.
That's okay. We're all human. My goodness. It's okay.
Oh,
Jim.
yeah. Oh, yeah. We've had a few distractions and we've had family here over the weekend. I've enjoyed it very much. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about the beautiful weather there. She's in Cincinnati, Ohio. Tania is. And we were talking about the rain here in Texas. And we've really been getting a lot of rain here. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I know. But hopefully that'll clear up. And I love the state of Texas.
Yeah.
I haven't been there in a while, but last week I was saying I was in Kentucky. This week I'm in Cincinnati here working at the hospital. And I'm so glad to be with everyone today during this broadcast. So we're ready to go.
Oh, yeah, we certainly are. We're going to be talking about abuse during this week. Mm-hmm. And on Thursday, we're going to have Jason Cisneros joining us. Jason goes underground, undercover.
Yeah.
Him and other guys and ladies, and they go in and they rescue children from the sex trafficking industry. Mm. That is a very dangerous environment. Mm-hmm. And because those are not nice people.
Right.
And you go in to steal their inventory, what they use for business, if you want to call it that.
Right.
They're not going to, you're certainly not welcomed. And I imagine it would be very dangerous at all times on all fronts.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And so we've had Jason on before, and we're talking about abuse this week. And Thursday, we're going to be, Donna and him are going to be joining me with about the child trafficking and the industry. I hate to call it an industry, but that's what it is. So you think of an industry being positive, but this is a very negative industry. Mm-hmm. And Donna was sharing with me that when she goes to this nearby shopping center where she normally goes, her alert level is much higher now. And this is some of the things that Jason's going to share with us on Thursday about what we can look for, what we should be looking for.
Yes.
Not as a victim, but to see if someone else is in danger of being a victim. Because there was a 14-year-old girl abducted from that same shopping center, and she has been MIA, missing in action. Yeah. Haven't seen from her since. But today we're going to be talking about the different types of abuse. Normally we think about abuse. We normally think about what, Tania?
Well, we think about, obviously sexual abuse. We think about physical abuse. But we never, I don't think that spiritual abuse may easily come to mind. And I don't think psychological abuse comes to mind very quickly. And emotional abuse. I still find people that are not 100% sold, so to speak, that even exists. Emotional abuse, you have to be educated about it because it doesn't leave any wounds like physical abuse. I see patients every day. We're taught and trained how to, obviously find and kind of discern whether they're in a bad situation, especially geriatric patients or the older population. We see that happening quite a bit, and sometimes it's a silent killer because they're afraid to speak up in multiple situations because they're afraid of backlash. It's the same thing with the emotional victim of abuse, is the fact that, you don't see their wounds. They carry around their wounds and inside, and it's kind of like a DIC where they're bleeding out internally, so to speak, emotionally.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm glad you mentioned that about the older folks, because people suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's. They can't remember.
That's right.
They can be abused, and a short time later, they've got no recollection of that abuse.
That's right. And we see it. You would think that who would do that or whatever, but sometimes it's the closest people to them, to the patients, that you find that happening, unfortunately. And then that's why you have to know the signs, what to look for, and what should you do about that if you do suspect that. I think those are the things we'll talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Because In the world today, there's a lot of verbal abuse going on.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is one of the more cruel things that people can, and sometimes people just being rough on the edges
Yeah.
and just saying what they feel,
Hmm.
they may not even be aware that they're hurting someone else's feelings.
Right.
I
Right.
have I have been
Hmm.
guilty of that myself.
Yeah, I have too. I
Yeah,
have too. I think we all have to some point or another. I mean,
yeah,
not meaning to, but I think at times, if you have your emotions unchecked or if you become angry or upset, I
hmm,
think it's easy to say things we don't mean. And
oh
once
yeah,
those words are spoken out, those words are like carriers and they're like containers. And so we have to be really careful how we use our words and the
hmm,
things that we speak to another person because
yeah,
people are valuable, and we can cut with our tongue. Our tongue can be
mhm,
very sharp at times, so we
oh
definitely
yeah.
have to watch that for sure.
The tongue can leave such deep wounds.
It can. It's
It'll
like a
last.
knife. It's like
Yeah,
a knife. Hmm.
it really is. It slices right into the heart and soul
Hmm.
of that person.
That's right.
And when it comes to verbal abuse, a lot of people uh, do not realize that verbal abuse is going on. It's very common, especially now with all of the hate and
Yeah.
all of the venom that's being vomited on society that we see everywhere.
Hmm.
People want to label you as being, okay, this is your label.
Yeah.
Now, back 25, 30 years ago, there used to be comedians that would make a joke about, here's your sign, okay?
Right.
But that was in good humor, and it was designed for, someone that, just, let's just say they weren't up to speed in between the ears, but it was made in good humor. But nowadays, the labeling and trying to put people in certain boxes, that is definitely verbal abuse. It is wrong. It just keeps echoing through society. So that's
Yeah.
why right now, you and I say you and I, I'm speaking to you
Of
individually out
course.
there, and
Yeah.
of course, Tanya and myself,
Yeah.
we can stop verbal abusing someone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
And the
hmm
best rule of thumb, and I want you to comment on your thoughts, the best rule of thumb I can think of is when my mother used to tell me when I was growing up, son, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
That's right. That's right. I think that's an excellent rule of thumb. And I also think that, if you're upset or, if you're having a disagreement in some form or fashion, it's best to just be quiet. Maybe
Mhm,
give yourself some time, don't respond. And that's easier said than done sometimes. But I think that, that's a skill, that emotional intelligence, you definitely have to learn more and more of that and
mhm,
have to put that into practice, not being reactionary, but responding, like we've already talked about in different programs. But
mhm,
I also think that people sometimes don't even know they're being emotionally abused. I think that we need to talk about and bring forth coercion. We
mhm,
need to talk about intimidation. Even in, I see this in, I've been through some of this myself in personal relationships. And it took a while because I'm a caregiver, and some nurses, they really experience this because they're caregivers, they're caretakers, they find themselves in codependent relationships,
mhm,
and wanting to fix people and wanting to fix situations and fix
mm,
things. And so we see a lot of nurses in different situations like this. And I've talked to many young people and young men and women that find themselves in situations that they feel put down, or maybe it's side remarks, maybe a
mhm,
side compliment, and it's not just one time, but it's multiple times.
mhm.
And what happens is their very soul is affected, and they
Yeah.
start to wither like a flower on the inside of them.
Mhm,
And their self-esteem is beaten down, their confidence is beaten down,
mhm,
and ultimately, it takes a lot of courage for that person to understand what's happening, to to
Hmm.
acknowledge there's a problem, especially when they're under the guise of, oh, I love this person. Well, you
Hmm.
might love that person, but like Tina Turner said, what does love got to do with it? What does love have to do with it? If you know that song,
Hmm.
um, that sometimes love doesn't have anything to do with it. Love doesn't
Hmm.
have anything to do with that type of relationship.
Right.
It's about control, manipulation, coercion, intimidation.
Hmm.
So we need to watch out for that.
Yeah. And I've often said that when two people are arguing, uh, they're not trying to solve the problem. One is trying to prove their point against the other one.
Yes.
And that fuels a lot of heated debate with couples. It really does,
Yes.
folks.
Yes.
And because they're not really wanting to solve the problem, and they want to make sure when they're arguing that they are not wrong.
That's it, Jim. That's it. That's
And
it. And you've been married for 50 plus years. So my goodness.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I've only been wrong once. Yeah.
We'll have to talk to your wife on that.
Oh no, she would agree with you. I've only been wrong
Oh
once.
my God.
And it's been a continuous 50-year months.
I think it takes a lot to say, you know what, I messed up, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's come to an
Mhm.
understanding. It's not about
Yeah.
who's right or proving a point. I
Yeah.
think there has to be a lot of maturity in that kind of situation as well.
Mhm.
But these skills can be learned.
Oh, yeah.
If they're not known. But what I want to bring forth is the fact that what are the warning signs? What
Mm.
are the warning signs? What to look for in that type of emotional abuse situation?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that, if you're fearful emotionally, what they do is they try to love bomb you at first. It's the
Mhm.
cycle, the whole honeymoon phase at first. They love you, love
Mm.
you, love you, smother you with love. If the
Mm.
person is telling you within the first month that they love you, you need to watch out, or first couple of weeks that they love you, be
Yeah.
careful with that situation,
Yeah.
because typically they'll find someone who's vulnerable, or they feel like that is naive in ways, or maybe trusting, and then
Yeah.
they'll just
Yeah.
they'll just love bomb you. Love
Uh-huh.
bomb you, love bomb you, love bomb you. Then the
Yeah.
woman suckered in, or it could go both ways. Then the man
Yeah.
suckered in as well,
Mhm.
because it
Yep.
can go both ways. And so then what happens is, it's the whole power control cycle. Um,
Manipulation. Yeah.
Manipulation. Then they start throwing a fit about something, trying to nitpick an argument. The man or the woman starts to wonder
Mhm.
what's happening. I didn't do anything. I didn't cause this. And then the person obviously has a blow up of some sort, in anger, and that could be physical violence as well, but
Mhm.
that's domestic abuse, which can
Mhm.
occur.
Mhm.
And then our emotional abuse can occur at that point. And
Mhm.
then there might be silence. That other
Mhm.
person may experience a lot of silence in the relationship, where that's a form of control as well.
Mhm.
Just kind of shutting down, walking
Mhm.
away, emotionally blocking that person out, stonewalling, so to speak. And
Mhm.
then what happens is, after a while, maybe a couple of days of that, then the love bombing starts to come on again.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love you.
I'll
You
never do
know,
this again.
I'll never do it again.
Mhm.
And I've been through that.
Yeah.
I mean, not so much physical, but I've been through that emotionally.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
at one point, I had to say, what's happening? What's going on? I talked with, a
Mhm.
counselor. She helped me through it. She helped me recognize what was happening. She pointed out the events that, were triggering it. And it's just, I'm telling you, it's phenomenal to go through. But at that point, when you do walk through something like that, you become much stronger. You
Mhm.
recognize the signs. And
Oh, yeah.
hopefully you don't get suckered back into that situation. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember thinking to myself, they can cause crazy making, so to speak, or gaslighting, where they make you feel like you're the one who's causing, or it's your fault.
Mm. Yeah.
So I think these situations need to
Mhm.
be brought forth, especially with young
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
nowadays. And this is domestic violence is on the rise. So
Mm.
I really feel like these situations, they need to be talked about
Mhm.
because you need to recognize the signs. If you're in a situation where this is occurring, you need to get some help. You need to talk to someone for sure.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
because I've only known one lady in my
Hmm.
life that lived like she was walking on eggshells,
That's it. That's it, Jim. That is it. Yes.
scared
That's
to
it.
death to look at another. If a man opened the door,
That's it,
just out of
Jim. Yep.
common courtesy, I'm talking about a door to department store or something, and just open a door out of respect,
Yep.
that lady would be scared to death to even make eye contact or say
Hmm.
thank you.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something about jealousy.
There's such oppression in that kind of relationship.
Oh gosh.
They push you down to the
Mhm.
point that you feel like your self-esteem is
Yeah.
beaten down to almost nothing.
Yeah, they
And
I'm sorry.
no, 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 go
I'm wanting
ahead.
to
Go
jump in
ahead.
there.
No,
You
jump
know,
in. Jump in.
some guys like that, they like to beat a woman down and they want to make her believe that no other man would have her. And
Yeah.
she is fortunate to have this psycho in her life.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
let me tell you something. It's recorded in Proverbs, and any psychologist or psychiatrist that's worth their weight in salt will tell you
Hmm.
that jealousy is a form of hatred.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
where it is rooted.
Hmm.
And that means if a person is rooted in hatred, how can they love you?
Yeah.
You can't get bacon and eggs from cow manure,
Right,
okay?
right.
I mean, I'm not trying to be gross, but I'm just trying to be heads up. And I'm just an old, plain old country boy. I
Right.
speak in country English. I
Right.
mean, you just, you cannot get love from hatred.
That's right. That's
Those
right.
two do not go together any more than
That's right.
snow at harvest time.
That's right.
It
And
just
we're
doesn't.
we're not talking about the occasional point where, your loved one says, "Hey," because I think sometimes we all experience a little bit of jealousy, even though we
Oh,
don't want
yeah.
to admit it. We do. I
Yeah.
don't think that's what we're talking about. We're talking
No,
about
no.
the jealousy. Can you go into that just a little bit more? How that's different from just a
Oh, yeah.
normal? Yeah.
The type of jealousy we're talking about, this is about total mind control.
Yeah, that's it.
This is
Hmm.
about you don't even do anything. I'm going to tell you what kind of TV shows you're going to listen to. I'm
Yeah.
going to monitor your phone. I'm
Hmm.
going to, monitor what you watch on TV.
Hmm.
You're going to report to me everything. I
Hmm.
mean, they want total control. You're,
It's definitely just a strong
yeah,
force of
yeah.
control. Yep.
They put you into a mental solitary confinement state,
That's it.
and
Yep.
they are the warden. I've known, we had one individual that it was in our family by marriage, and he isolated the entire family away from his wife.
Yeah.
And all that is, and if you're guilty of that, guys, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not running for anything, and I'm not running from anything.
Come on, tell the
So
truth,
if
Jim.
if I'm if I'm stomping on your toes, I'm going to tell you heads up, straightforward.
That's
I
right.
don't care.
That's
Okay,
right.
you need
That's
to
right.
man up and stand up and be, treat a lady like a lady because if you're grounded in hatred, you are robbing yourself of all the riches of life
Hmm.
because the riches of life, the things that money cannot buy, comes from the abundance of love. And if you're
Yes.
grounded in hatred, you're robbing yourself, your health, your
Hmm.
happiness, your lifestyle,
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
And I hate to say it this bluntly, but I'm an old retired master sergeant.
No.
Spent 31 years in the United States
Right.
Army, but
Tell it like it is, Jim.
I tell you, brother, I mean, that's about as dumb as you can get.
help teach and train it. And that's why this
Mhm.
conversation is so important, because we need to teach and train and
Yeah.
help our young people, help
Yes.
our young men know what true manhood
Yeah.
is, help
Yeah.
young women know what's
Mhm.
acceptable and what's not acceptable, help
Mhm.
them understand and see clearly, their worth, their value, who they
Yeah.
are, their identity, that they're
Mhm.
special, that they're
Mhm.
created unique, that they know who they are. I think these things are invaluable
Mhm.
to avoiding situations like this.
Oh, yeah.
I was raised in a really good home. I was, talked to with great value and great worth, but
Mhm.
still and yet, because here's what I've learned over this past week. And let me tell you about this, Jim, and
Okay.
everyone listening. This is something that I learned, and I won't break HIPAA with this. But I was taking care of a patient, and all of a sudden, he looked at me. He said, "I want you to know, my only son, who was 29, died 2 months ago."
Mm.
And I could see the devastation in his eyes. I could see the hurt in his eyes.
Mhm.
And this person was also an alcoholic.
Mm.
And that's why he's in the hospital, because of cirrhosis of the liver. And so I'm taking care of him. And I turned around and my heart broke for him. My heart just broke for him.
Mm.
But I realized this, and I'm coming to a major point here. We all have vulnerabilities, and it's okay to be vulnerable with someone who is close to us, who we trust, where that trust
Mhm.
is built and whatnot. But our vulnerabilities left unguarded will be an extreme weakness.
Mm. Yeah.
So we have to know ourselves. We have to know our own vulnerabilities, and we have to know how to guard our vulnerabilities. So what I'm
Mhm.
talking about is that single woman, who doesn't quite know who they are, or they're
Mm.
lacking self-respect, or some kind of issue going on.
Mm.
Or we all want. What about Maslow's hierarchy? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone has a need for love.
Yeah.
Everyone has a need to belong. Everyone
Mhm.
has a need for safety. That's a basic need in our lives as human beings. I don't
That's
care whether you're yellow, red, white, black.
yeah.
We all have that need, Jim.
That's right. That's the way we're wired.
That's right. But
Yeah.
be careful not to allow your needs, your basic needs, to drive you,
Mm.
or let your vulnerabilities drive you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to go on a limb and a little bit of a different angle here, but this is also falls in the category of abuse. And
Yeah.
I'm going to pick on the guys again. So if our ratings are go up to 100% female, I'll know what
Well,
happened.
I'm
But
hoping that the women are listening up with this too, because we
but
need we need to learn from this as well.
but I see a lot of one of the biggest problems, and this is not necessarily abuse, but listen to me, guys. A lot of you young men, you don't know how to treat a lady any more than I know how to whisper to a horse. Okay,
Come on, Jim. Oh my goodness. Wow.
I'm being honest with you because
Mm.
you want the benefits of a sweetheart and a woman at night
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
during the day in your lifestyle in general. You want her to be your mama,
Hmm.
take care of you, make sure you got food, clothing, and help you pay some of your bills because you cannot manage money. I'm not trying to put you down. I'm just talking to you heads up as
Yes.
straightforward. But let
Yes.
me ask you a question. If that is you, and the only thing that you know about women is that I want a sweetheart at night, but I want a woman to take care of me during the day like mama does, and she's not your mama,
That's
okay?
right. Hmm.
You only got one mama, and
Hmm.
mama's job was to raise you to be a responsible young man. So, if that's who you are, let me ask you a question. What makes you such a fantastic catch for her to hang on to and not trade you in for somebody else?
Hmm.
Is
Hmm.
that a fair question?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because how many times have you opened the door for her? How many of the time? Because the secret to life. I remember this back in the '60s. This was an old boy. He had been around the world a few times, seen everything twice, and he says he was giving us some advice about ladies. And we were joking. He's an army sergeant, He said, I'm going to talk to you boys about ladies. What's a lady, Sergeant? Oh, shut up. we, we were joking with him. But he says the best rule of thumb is treat a lady like a princess in public
Mhm.
and treat her like a sweetheart at home. Now, you think about that. Let that soak in between your ears
That's beautiful.
because
Hmm.
the return on what you're going to get by investing in her, treating her like a princess in public and a sweetheart at home, you'll always have clean clothes and food in your belly, and the
Yeah.
benefit, because
Well,
a lady wants a secure nest,
yeah, of course,
a home.
and I think that's excellent, excellent advice. I couldn't agree more. But I think because of the breakdown of our societal
Mm,
structure, where there's a lack of training in the home, where there's a lack of manhood, where there's a lack of womanhood within the family, where there's a lack of roles and understanding the femininity and the masculinity roles
mhm,
and all of that. I think that we really have to go back to basics, and that's about loving ourselves well, because I
mhm,
can't love someone else if I don't love myself. And the root of abuse, especially physical or emotional or whatever, but is, you sent me a definition earlier, Jim, and what
mhm,
that definition was said, which I loved it, was basically it's the misuse.
mhm.
It's the misuse of something, and
Yeah.
so it's like not knowing how to treat someone or something or whatnot, and it's the mistreatment of.
Mhm,
And if a person really doesn't love themselves, there's a breakdown within how they love, or maybe it goes back to how they were raised or their
mhm,
environment, or whatever it could be. But not to excuse that away,
mhm,
but I think that those things exist very, very strongly, and it doesn't matter about socioeconomics either.
mhm.
you know
Not at
let me
all.
tell you, I was living in an extravagant neighborhood, and all of that, and so it doesn't matter about money or poor or rich, or the color of skin that you have. Abuse knows no limits, it knows
Oh,
no
yeah.
boundaries. And neglect, obviously, if you have children, or if you're caring for an older family member, if you neglect them, that is considered a form of abuse.
Mhm,
um, even with animals and whatnot. I mean, it goes back down to knowing how to treat yourself well, loving yourself, and
mhm,
walking out in true love. And what does that look like? Well, true love, that's why domestic violence, when there's a domestic case, that's why
mhm,
it's so hard for that woman to leave or that man to leave,
mhm.
because they think that they've been used to abnormal.
Yeah.
They just get
Yeah.
used to being treated that way. It's like the frog in the boiling pot, right? Have you ever heard of that, Jim? I'm sure
Mhm.
you have.
Oh, yeah.
It's the frog in the boiling pot, where the
Mhm,
frog's in there and he's just thinking everything's okay. He's just chilling, relaxing, enjoying it, until he realizes he's cooking in the middle of
mhm.
the pot, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. Mhm,
And that's the same way. If we don't teach about these topics, if we don't understand and we don't help others to be aware of the signs and the what's going on,
mhm,
then they'll be stuck. They'll be
mhm,
stuck in those kinds of situations. And what we're trying to do today is throw people awareness,
mhm,
increase awareness of abuse, all forms of abuse,
mhm.
and throw them a lifeline. Throw
Yes.
them a lifeline.
Yes.
Because I guarantee you there are people listening and that will listen to this that are
Mhm.
in some form of an abusive situation.
Oh, yeah. And, the thing, we've often heard that thing, count to 10 before you say something. Well, what if, we got in the habit of asking ourselves, how would my comment make this person feel?
Mm-hmm.
That's a real good comment. That's very, very accurate.
Yeah.
Because what you consider someone else's feelings, the verbiage and the words and phrases that you will use towards that person is going to change.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what if the person said the same thing, not the same word as phrase, but the same level of content, if it's equal content
Yeah.
that you're going to say to them, if they would say that to you, how would that make you feel?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
without, I mean, love is the greatest gift this world will ever see.
Absolutely.
And
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
and
yes.
I mean, what makes us love our pets so much, especially our dogs,
Hmm.
because they
Hmm.
love you unconditionally. They're
Hmm.
loyal to you.
Hmm.
And dogs, you can be late. You can, you might forget bringing their treats home. Of course, some dogs they do pout if they don't get
Right.
their special way, but you spoiled them. It's not our fault, okay?
Hmm.
That's one of them personnel problems.
Hmm.
But my point being, just look at the way the dog unconditionally loves, and you ask yourself a question: where did that dog get the capacity to love?
Hmm.
And we're only talking about a dog. Thinking about you as a human being. See, that's the one thing in society that we see now. They're trying to rip the individuality away from you.
Hmm.
You can let that happen if you want to, but that's abuse.
Uh-huh.
My point being, you can say, I don't subscribe to that. And most of the people I know, we don't watch the junk on TV because it's negative, it's wrong.
Hmm.
It's always, I mean, I mean, I just don't care to watch people on TV that like to abuse their position for their own, money, power, greed. That's it. I mean,
Uh, uh,
money,
uh,
power,
I,
and control. Yeah.
Jim, I'm telling you, and it's on all levels. It's
Hmm.
on, let's talk
Yeah.
about that because most
Yeah.
people don't want to talk about that and bring that forward. But
Mhm.
we are today. So let's talk about spiritual abuse, even in religious sectors.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
talk about, that definitely happens. It definitely goes
Mm.
on. I've
Yeah.
experienced that myself. So, but
Mhm.
it took a while to recognize. You need to learn how to recognize these certain abusive situations.
Mhm.
Sexual abuse, obviously, we know that, but and then psychological. But I'm talking about whether it happens from parents to children to friends to spouses. It can happen in the governmental sector. It
Oh,
can
yeah.
happen with people who have authority, some
Mhm. Oh,
form
yeah.
of authority. Um,
Mhm.
it can happen in different
Yeah.
every form and fashion. It can happen, and I think it's imperative that that person feels or is empowered to make real life changes and choices,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
to make a change and to make a difference. Because
Oh, yeah.
if they succumb to that situation or
Mhm.
that scenario,
Mhm.
they will always feel oppressed. They will feel
Mhm.
pushed down, and they will just
Mhm.
think that's the norm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've seen people in their 60s, 80s, that they knew something was wrong, but they did
Mhm.
not make a change. And it's hard, my
Mhm.
and there's different situations as well. You have to take it case by case. I don't
Mhm.
think it can just be lumped into one scenario because we're
Mm-mm.
all different. The situations are unique.
Yeah.
We're both old enough to know and have enough life experience to know that
Mhm.
each case is definitely different.
Oh,
There
yeah.
might be some similar patterns, but it's different. And
Mhm.
you need to be knowledgeable in it, and there needs to be some professional help in those situations.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
When it comes to abuse, I mean, I tell people I'm a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
Look how the federal government abused us veterans. And they did not try to stop any of the bad misinformation, the lies, the rumors. We were all supposed to be psychotic baby killers, drug users, you name it. But you know what? You know what? Us
Wow, Jim.
Vietnam
Yeah.
veterans, when you look at us as opposed to our counterparts, and I'm not knocking my brothers and sisters, that didn't go to Vietnam, but I got great
That's
friends
right.
over there, went to school with them.
That's right.
But as a whole, we're more productive in life than they are. And the
Yeah,
reason for that, there's a lesson in that. When you rise up from the ashes,
that's it.
let's say you're in an abusive situation right now.
Hmm.
Would you rather go to a counselor who has rose up from the ashes, who spent time in that hellhole,
That's it, Jim.
or
That
would you
is
want to
it.
go to some, nicely dressed, college educated, bookworm? Okay. I mean, so if you're in an abusive situation, it might be your calling in life to rise up from the ashes and shine, because
That's it.
that's what us Vietnam veterans do. And our joke, I'm going to take time since I can get away with this since I'm one of the hosts here. So our
I
joke
think you
is,
should.
back in 1969, there was a big music festival that I knew nothing about. I was on the other side of the earth in Vietnam. It was up in upstate New York called Woodstock.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh, my
back in the
goodness.
early 70s, from time to time, someone would rarely, but they would ask me, "Hey, did you go to Woodstock?" And no, I was on the other side of the earth, and I just let it slide, or I just say no. But why is it? And when you went to Woodstock back in 1969, you were in with the in crowd. If you're over there with us men and women that served in Vietnam, you were the outcast, okay? But
Mm,
why is it? Why is it since the 80s and 90s and on up today, we've had, I don't know how many thousands of pretenders
mhm.
running around pretending they served in Vietnam?
Oh, my goodness. That's
But
horrible.
what's funny, you never hear any guy run around and says, "Hey, I went to Woodstock."
Yeah,
you know,
right, right, right. That's
so I mean,
horrible.
that's how much things can turn. So right now, you may
Mm,
be in the flames of fire of life.
that's it, Jim.
You
That's
may
it.
feel like there's no way out, but if you
That's it.
rise up from the ashes,
Hmm.
you can shine. And don't let anybody enslave you, because God gave you a body, a spirit inside your body, a soul that's going to live forever. And you got a mind. You are a mind with a body. And I'll tell this one funny story and I'll hush. There
No,
was
this is
there
good.
was there was a guy that was related to us in our family, related to the Grants, and he had a habit of drinking. And he was a pretty nice guy, as I
Hmm.
understand it. I never
Hmm.
personally knew him, but I
Hmm.
heard my aunts and my mother talk about him. He was a pretty nice guy when he was sober. When he gets to drinking, I mean, he make
Mm,
mentally he's off in the
mm,
deep end.
mm.
And his little wife, she was about 5 foot nothing,
Yeah.
weighed about 100 pounds soaking wet. And he would come in and he would smack her and was mean to her and all that. But one day, she just says, "This is it.
Yeah.
I've had enough."
Yeah. You
So
have to get to that point. Enough is
And
enough.
he
Yeah.
came in, and her being a good little, homemaker,
Hmm.
she got out her needle and thread, spool of thread, and she sewed the two sheets together, the bottom sheet and the top sheet, where he was in between, all the way around.
Oh, gosh. Oh,
And then
no.
she took a broomstick and she beat the tar out of him.
Oh, goodness.
She gave him some good old fashioned thump therapy with a broomstick. And he
Oh,
was
no.
pretty much whimpering and crying and all that. And
Mm,
it was an amazing event because somehow or another he saw the light. He gave
mm.
up drinking, started going to church, never laid a
Wow.
hand on her again. So I'm not encouraging you to go out and, give
Right.
somebody therapy. But what I'm
Right.
saying is that everybody has their boiling point.
That's it. That's it. Yes.
I mean, a dog can chase a cat till the cat gets in the corner and then watch out.
That's exactly what happens. And the bottom line is everyone's tolerance is different.
Hmm.
Every woman's tolerance is different. Every man's tolerance is different.
Oh, yeah.
And abuse knows no gender. It knows
Hmm.
no boundary, like we said. And
Right.
I love what you said is the fact that if you do find yourself in that situation, there is a way out, that
Hmm.
there is hope for
Yeah.
tomorrow. There is a way out. You can reach out to us personally, Jim. They can definitely send emails. Of
Hmm.
course, we will help. Give you some instruction. There is a domestic abuse hotline that you can call. You can look that up. It's a 1-800 number.
Mm, yes.
They can give you advice, and it's solid counseling that
Hmm.
they will give you.
Yeah.
Um, Some women are
And
so scared in that situation where
yeah,
they're scared to make moves,
yeah,
and because their lives could be in real serious
hmm
jeopardy, or the man as well. So
hmm
there's ways to do that. You have to think systematically, you have to think critically, but
hmm
there is a way out.
yes,
Some women, they get to the point where enough is enough, and then they make moves. Some
hmm
men do too, but there are people that think it's easier just to stay in the status quo. This is the way it
hmm
is. But the form of it is the root of it is control. And
yeah,
so, I remember having my keys hid from me because I couldn't get in my car and leave. I remember phones being torn out of the walls because I couldn't call anyone. I remember all sorts of different things. And so
wow,
today is a day. Yeah, no one knows those things. See, Jim, everyone sees Dr. Tanya Simmons in front of my name, or they see all the global webcasts that I do and everything else. But
hmm
I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. There's a
oh yeah,
better future for you, that that you don't have to live in that type of situation, that the
hmm
best is yet to come in your life. You
yeah,
just have to make that move to get out and to move forward and to heal and to heal. And
exactly.
there's a new day for you, for
And a
sure.
lot of these groups that you call, they can give you a good advice to how to contact at the local level, who you get in
Yes,
contact with, because you will
exactly.
need local support. And if
Yes.
you're a mom and you're in an abusive situation and you know that's going to be harmful to your kids, and you and your kids want to get out of there, call 911, call the sheriff or the police and say, hey, come over. I just want to get me and my kids out of this abusive situation. Okay.
Yeah, and
And
sometimes, and Jim, sometimes it's about financial abuse as well.
oh yeah,
Sometimes, it may be a situation where the other perpetrator is taking
mhm,
all of the money, or the other person doesn't have access to the money. It's an
right,
economical situation. So but there's help for those people as well. You just
mhm,
have to reach out and you have to take the first step. It takes a
yeah,
lot of courage. It takes a lot
yeah,
of inner strength, inner fortitude to take the first step and to rebuild. But you can rebuild. And what happens is, if you do your work, your inner work, you do your healing, you give time to love yourself well, you become stronger. You become
yes,
much stronger. And
yes.
so that's what I want to point out too, that there is hope and a better future ahead for sure.
Yeah, it's I came from a very sheltered life growing up on a farm in North Carolina. And when I say sheltered, ladies and gentlemen, I mean sheltered. I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't know it went on in this world. I'm
Yeah.
not complaining now, don't
Yeah. Right.
misunderstand me. I tell people we didn't even know we were poor till we went to town.
That's and right, exactly. That's the concept.
Because
Yeah.
what we were rich in were the things that money couldn't buy.
Yes,
But
that's nice.
it's really amazing how I've heard of people and I've seen people on TV and things of this nature where for so long they didn't think they could do it.
Hmm. That's
And
it.
I
Talk to
don't
that.
care who you are, you can do this.
Yes, yes,
You can
yes,
do this
yes.
because if you want to look at all of the different individual cells that race from your father's sperm to your mother's egg, millions.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were
Hmm.
the most persistent. You were the strongest. And
Hmm.
that brought up a joke. Maybe I shouldn't share it at a moment like this, but I will. I heard one guy talking about another guy. He was an interesting guy. I'll say that. Good guy. But he said, if he was the strongest one and the most persistent, what were the other ones like? But take heart that you've already accomplished
That's it.
the biggest odds
Yes.
that you will ever face in your life. You were blind.
Yes.
You were blind as a bat. You couldn't talk. You couldn't walk, but you survived. You were
Right.
born to be a winner.
That's it.
You were born to be a survivor.
That's it. That's it.
You have the universal right to live in peace and harmony,
Yes. Yes.
loving yourself and loving the ones around you, especially if you're a mom and you got kids.
That's right,
You
Jim.
you have
Hmm.
that Right.
That's right. Without emotional distress,
Right.
anxiety, depression,
Amen.
and all of that kind of just pushing down on you. There's
Oh.
normal anxiety, there's normal pressures and all of that. But when a person is deliberately causing emotional stress and taxing you emotionally
Mm.
in multiple ways or physically, perpetrating against you or, whatever abuse it is, psychological abuse,
Mm.
making you feel like you're the crazy one,
Yeah.
crazy making, like we talked about, gaslighting, et cetera, et cetera. But those situations, I think you really need to be aware of what's happening
Hmm.
and understand the warning signs when you meet someone, what's happening, why, what does this look like,
Hmm.
and be cognizant if something doesn't feel right to you, then typically sometimes 85 to 90% of the time, typically, your inner voice is correct, your intuition.
Oh
I
yeah.
would say go with your intuition, your
Hmm.
discernment, and watch out for that for sure. And and don't be naive. Don't be naive for sure. So I think I love what you said. I mean, there's a way out. There's hope for
Hmm.
tomorrow,
Oh
and
yeah.
um, and I ended up. I will say this. I ended up having the opportunity to empower other women in those different situations. And
Hmm.
so it's been a journey. It's been a
Hmm.
story for sure, but it's one that I'm not ashamed to share because if
Yeah.
it's going to help someone
Hmm.
today, it's more than worth it. That
Hmm.
one person, Jim, is more than worth it. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Well, you remember recently, I had a young lady in Pakistan, I think it was, who had
I,
contacted
yes,
me.
sir.
She was in an abusive situation. And I told her, I says, I'm not a good counselor for you. I do not understand the custom in
Yeah.
that area. I don't have any clue what the resources are, but there was something about me she just wanted to latch on to.
Yeah.
And I said, let me introduce you to Dr. Tanya Simmons.
Yeah.
I
I
said,
remember
she's
that.
in a,
Yeah.
yeah. And
She's
it's,
a lovely lady. She is a
mm,
lovely lady. We talked multiple times,
mhm,
and the situation has gotten better. I didn't tell
mm,
you the feedback, but the situation has gotten better.
good,
Last time I
good,
talked to
good,
her, and she was making steps and moves, and so.
good.
But I think that's the thing. You can never argue with credibility. Like you were talking about, experience brings credibility to the table. I
Mhm.
haven't been to Vietnam. I haven't gone through what you've gone through, Jim. So you're called to help different people maybe than what
Mhm.
I am. But
Exactly.
we both have been through things. We
Oh
go
yeah.
through things. Everyone has a story. And that story is important. So
Mhm.
the people that are watching today, they have major stories.
Oh
Their life and their stories matter.
yeah. I heard an expression one time. It just came to my mind, and I liked it, and I still like it. When you see an older person, and I've got wrinkles. I mean, and I've got my fair share of
Oh, Jim,
wrinkles.
you still look good. My goodness.
Go ahead. I can take it. I mean, no, no. But the wrinkles on the outside
Yeah.
are a reflection of the internal scars on the inside. Because everybody's been scarred up on the inside.
Hmm.
Nobody's been
Hmm.
immune to it.
That's right.
And when you see a person that's been through things in their life and it hasn't consumed them like a fire, and they
That's
have a
right.
smile on their face,
Come on, Jim.
and it's just, that's the kind of people that you want to reach out to.
Yes.
And like in my area of expertise, where I might be able to talk to a veteran, I wasn't a good contact for this young lady. And I knew that, and I told her that
Mm-hmm.
because I had no skin in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just didn't have the experience. I didn't have the proper training. And it
Mm-hmm.
was the right thing for me to tell her that, I'm not a good fit for you, but I, introduced her to you.
Yeah,
And
she's a lovely woman. Lovely
so
woman.
reach out to people who've got skin in the game, They want to help you because they have been there.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
my heart goes out to a lady that's got kids because I know what she wants. She wants a safe haven to live in peace and harmony with love in her house and to
Mhm.
see her children whole.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
life. That's living. You
Yeah.
have the you have the universal right from the creator of this entire universe to love yourself, love your kids,
Mhm.
and live in peace and harmony.
That's right.
You're not required to put up.
No.
No man on planet Earth.
No.
I don't care who he is or
Mm-mm. To
what
be
he thinks.
mistreated, disrespectful, or misused.
Right,
Absolutely not.
right,
That's
right.
not love. That's not what we're called to.
Because when
That's
the
right.
good Lord created Eve, he looked down there at Adam, and I'm convinced this is where ladies got a chance to roll their eyes. He didn't say he needed a sweetheart. He didn't say, well, I think he needs a woman or a wife. He said, that boy needs some help. He
Yeah.
needs a helper. And
Yeah.
I was at a men's retreat one time and I used the expression, I says, we don't know what Adam was doing, but Adam was a guy. I mean, he didn't have to work. So he's got to be goofing off anyway. I mean,
He
him
was
and
asleep. No, I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
yeah, he could have been, doing whatever. I said, who knows? Maybe him and the chimpanzees were out there throwing tangerines at one another. Just being a guy. Hey, that's fun. Hey,
but
you
I,
know.
I think I think though there are great men out there
Oh
that
yeah.
are empowered. They help. They want to empower other young men to
Hmm.
truly be true men, to
Yeah.
walk with integrity, to walk with honor, to
Hmm.
cultivate respect. And I believe there are great men out there,
Oh
and
yeah.
you're one of those men, Jim. And I know that there are great men like that. There are great women that
Mm.
are called to help other women, to empower them to understand their identity, to know their
Mm. Oh yeah.
uniqueness, to know that you're a treasure, to know that you deserve all the good things in life, to know that they deserve the very best of the best,
Hmm.
and not to settle for mere crumbs in any area of your life. So
Oh
this has
yeah.
been my calling. Even through these past 2 weeks, I've experienced changes and differences in my life. But I think that, you come to a place where you recognize this is good, this is learning
Hmm.
lessons, and this is going to elevate me. It's not going to take me out or take me down. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's the mentality you have to have of saying, okay, we're going through this. Maybe it looks devastating right now, but in the end, this is going to turn around. I'm going to bring good out of this, and I'm
Hmm.
going to be able to help someone somehow through what they're going through.
Oh
Sometimes
yeah.
the reasons we go through things is for other people.
Mm.
It's not just that we're going through them. It's
Hmm.
to make an impact, to make a difference, and to help other people.
Oh yeah. It really truly is. And if you're a guy, there's nothing more attractive for you to walk tall and be respected. Now, how does
Oh
that
yeah.
make you feel as a guy? Now, if you treat your girlfriend or your wife like a princess in public and a sweetheart at home, and you let your manhood be a blessing in your house.
That's it, Jim. That's
Now,
it.
let me tell you something else you need to do. You can call around to different groups, different churches. This is not about religion.
Right, right.
So they're not going to take you out and baptize you until you quit bubbling or
Right.
anything like that. Hold you under until you. But my point being is that they have men's retreats. This is a time when men get together of all ages
It's
and
powerful.
they discuss things about how a man should be a blessing to his family. If you're a guy
Mm.
out there and you're not really deep down inside proud of the way that you are to your family, if it embarrasses you a little bit, how you wonder how your kids are going to feel about you when you get older, go to a men's retreat. You don't have to say anything.
Mhm.
You just say, I just, it's invited to come here. I don't know what's about, and I'm just here to observe.
Mhm.
But be sure you open your mind and you let your mind sponge in everything that's there because I tell you what, If you do that, you will walk out a changed person.
Yes. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
And women too. Women
yeah.
need that as well.
They have
That's why.
women's group too. Yeah,
Right.
they
Women
sure do.
empowerment, women,
Mhm,
we all have our own needs. We have our own
mhm.
desires. We have our own
Yeah,
vulnerabilities and weaknesses. And
yeah,
I think the one thing that we need to know is who we are, our
mhm.
identity,
Yeah,
the value of what we carry and who we are,
yeah.
and not compromise on those things.
Yeah, because one of the great things about the women's group, you can go there and complain about men all
No,
the time, and
no,
and
no,
nobody
no.
will snitch you off, you know?
No, we need strong men. We need
I
good
know,
men,
I
and
know.
we value strong, good,
Yeah.
solid men. We need
It's a
leaders. We need more men like that, and we
it's a
need women like that too.
yeah, it's a compliment because we're almost out of time because it's a balance.
It is a
It's
balance. It
like when the
is.
Lord looked at Adam, he says, "This boy needs a helper. He needs help."
Right.
And I've said before on the air, and it's very, very true because if you're a guy and you're honest with yourself, you know it's true.
Yeah.
That's that 90-50-50 rule that applies to all of us men. If there's a 50-50 shot, you're going to go out and do something and do it right the first time. If you got a 50-50 shot at that, if you do not listen to the wise advice of the lady in your life, buddy, there's a 90% chance you're going to go out of there and bolo it right out of the gate.
Hmm.
And it's just like one of the phrases that I hate to hear from a guy is when I'm talking business with him. And I ask him about a problem that concerns me, and
Mm.
immediately, without even discussing the problem, he says, "No problem." And that automatically sets
Oh
off a
no.
red flag in me because I'm telling you, 100% when you're going down the road and you're making straightaway, and everything's good, you come that first curve, that's when you're going to find out how good the wheels are glued on this thing.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's a good point.
yeah, because usually that's when it comes apart. So if you're a guy out there and you're using that phrase, clean that out of your vocabulary because it's a
Yeah.
weak answer. It's a weak answer. But we've
Yeah.
talked about quite a bit today where we're
My
actually,
goodness, Jim,
yeah,
our time
yeah.
just flies. I mean,
We didn't even get a chance to complain about how the politicians abuse their power.
yeah, well, yeah, that goes on too,
Yeah.
doesn't it? I
Oh yeah,
mean,
the good for
my
nothing
goodness.
politics, the best people money can buy. Who was it said that?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my
It was
goodness.
Will Rogers. But we hope we've inspired you to, uh, you know, seek help if you're being abused. Talk to
Yes,
someone. Um, don't live with it. Don't put up with it.
that's right. And don't live in silence.
Mm.
Don't live in silence or feel like you're alone because it's more prevalent than what you expect.
Oh
There
yeah.
is tons of people that are going through the same thing
Mhm.
that you are. You just need to
Yeah.
reach out.
And you'll be amazed how much moral support that you will get that will help you feel better about yourself and how you will find ways, doors that will open to you
Yes,
where you can have a safe haven for you and your children if you're a
that's right.
lady, or you and your kids if you're,
Or a man as
yeah,
well. Yeah.
yeah. Because I saw a TV show here recently, and boy, uh, guy shot his wife, and he wound up going to taking a plea deal, going to prison, but the video camera, holy smoke, she was attacking him with a ball bat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know
So,
all the details, but I knew one thing, boy, he must have made her mad or something.
yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that,
Exactly.
that's when you talk in war in the old hacienda. Somebody starts coming after you
Yeah.
with a ball bat,
That is not good for
raising
sure.
a white flag. I think it's not going to help you too much at
That's
that
right. That's
point.
right. Well, this has been really good. I hope that
Yeah,
our hope is that people are touched and
yeah,
really encouraged and strengthened and understand that there is
yeah,
help and there is hope for
yeah.
them
Be
for
sure and
sure.
tune in Thursday for Jason Cisneros with the sex industry with
That's
kids.
going to be good. Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, we're out of time. We got to go.
Oh my
Thank you
goodness.
so much. Share this show with others. We'll see
Bye
you next time.
guys.
Bye
Love you
bye.
guys. Bye.